All right. Good morning, everyone. Brad Roltgen here with the Fresno Bitcoin and Cryptocurrency Investors Group. Today, we're kind of taking a little look at what coins we're holding, what coins we think might, be mooning in the near future, or maybe some coins that others have that we might want to grab a hold of before they moon. So, kind of just going around the group and seeing what you guys have and that kind of thing. We did this back in similar kind of format back at the end of last year, just to kind of see percentage wise what everybody was holding, whether it was, a good chunk in Bitcoin or a good chunk in some of these smaller altcoins that are, brand new that unfortunately 90% of the time they tank and we end up losing money. So I've learned that the hard way, like most of us. So anyway, we got Michael, I saw just jumped in here when we started. Morning, Michael. Hopefully he can hear us.
Looks like he's just coming on board.
Yeah, with the audio. Okay, cool. So let me share, go back to the Google Doc here, and I'll just start talking about some of mine here. So this is kind of my list. The order was based on the percentage I was holding back at the end of November or December when we talked about that last. And I just added Turbo on here. Oh, and I don't let me take off Dent. We're not even going to count that one. Um, but Turbo, I forget who talked about it. But I, jumped in and grabbed like $100 worth back then, and now it's worth $40. The usual kind of scenario on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I've been holding Theta for years, and that's one that I actually read the white paper back in 2018, 17, somewhere in there. And they're kind of doing YouTube, but on a distributed basis, where instead of housing all the videos, in data centers paid for by YouTube, they're storing the videos, on our computers and when we're connected to the network and, sharing some resources there. They've recently added an AI coin kind of to their family, which is this Levita down here, and I've been actively working as a node on that chain where my computer is doing some processing of AI uh, transactions or queries or whatever it's doing. And so I've been earning a little Levita along the way there. Again, just like some of these other ones, it's gone down in value, but I'm kind of just holding that just to kind of see what's going on. Probably these other ones you've seen. T-Fuel is the transaction coin for Theta for their network. Um, so I'm hoping Theta comes back. I don't, maybe mooning is probably the wrong term, but it was as high as $15 at one point, and it's about 78 cents at currently. I bought it at 25 cents, so I'm still to the good, but I wish we were closer to that 15 um, dollar range. Anyway, the other ones that I have here are pretty much ones we've talked about or you've probably seen. Um, any comments or thoughts on these coins?
A good chunk of them are, I would say 50% of them are the ones I own. I don't own Theta, T Fuel. I don't even know T Fuel, Levita, or Turbo. But all those other ones you have listed, I own to some extent. But um, I'm Bitcoin. I'll just read mine. I'm just pulling up my Coinbase, and I'm just going to read mine. I don't have a way of showing you without a bunch of goofy numbers and showing you all my losses. Okay. My number one holding is Bitcoin. Second is Ethereum, which is a change for me. Since our last meeting, I rotated money out of XRP into Ethereum to try to catch a little bit more of the Ethereum momentum that's going on right now. That was the that was helpful. That was a good little move for me. I was really XRP heavy. Last month, or 2 months ago, XRP was my largest holding, even above Bitcoin. Then I rotated XRP, more XRP into Bitcoin, and then this last month into Ethereum. I still XRP is still number three for me. Chainlink, Stellar, Algorand, Wormhole, Hedera, and Sui. So I used to have another 10 coins, but as I got to where I've kind of felt like I want to put some of these coins I haven't even heard much movement on in a long time, and I'm hearing a lot, I'm hearing a lot of talk about Ethereum and Solana, and so I rotated. I got rid of some. I don't want to call them junk coins, but they just haven't seemed to be moving as much. Or I guess maybe the altcoin season hasn't quite hit yet. So I moved them. I rotated them into coins that I feel are doing something right now. And it's been a little bit, and I'll even say this and let somebody else talk. I'm starting to value more cryptocurrency coins that are actually accomplishing something in the marketplace. So that's why I've got more Ethereum, more Solana, more Algorand. I got rid of Pepe. I got I got out of Doge. Some of that kind of stuff. I wanted to rotate into coins that I felt like are positioned to actually make money, apart from just gambling. So um, anyway, that's my story, but a good chunk of overlap with your list. I hold
Okay.
some Solana. I don't think I named Solana because I don't hold most of my Solana through Coinbase. I hold it through another wallet.
Okay. Yeah, and good point about getting into the coins that are actually doing something or providing a function and that kind of thing. That's
Mhm.
that's a good thing. Now, eh, it it's hard to say because like Theta is doing that, with their video distributed video projects and all these kinds of things. But it's like, well, maybe it's not doing enough to move the needle
Mm.
in the marketplace. And it's always hard to tell without knowing, well, how many active users do they have doing this? How many active AI projects do they have running on their network and that kind of thing? So there's also that
Right.
that deal. And the problem with crypto sometimes is, you know, like, like Ethereum's a good example where, okay, they did this whole smart contract thing way back when, and they've got the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, 500 big Fortune, 500 companies kind of involved. And then it gets real expensive. So BNB comes along, Solana comes along, and these other ones that can do smart contracts as well. So maybe all that momentum that they had because they were the big player now gets, divvied up across some other platforms. Um, Even though they're all doing work, that type of thing. So,
Do you
but
think
good
it's?
point.
Do you think I understand that? So Ethereum's kind of like the first in that scene to launch. I watched an interview with the founder of Cardano, and I don't remember the guy's name. It was a fascinating interview. um, and I could see what he was doing. Right, he was part of the Ethereum launch. Right, I guess there were like 10 guys, 10 buddies, and that were in Ethereum in the beginning, and they've almost all moved out. They've almost either been moved out or they left to pursue something different. So the Cardano guy felt like he could make improvements on Ethereum, and when you listen to him talk, it sounds valid, right? Like Cardano's got some things that they learned from Ethereum. At the same time, so I don't disagree with your thesis, Brad, that some of these other groups could do it even better than Ethereum. At the same time, we live in a world where everybody does like to consolidate and move to that company that is seems to have market share and market space, right? Like he's like, oh my gosh, I can trust these guys more. They have more market share, and they could at any moment buy up Cardano if they wanted to, So I think that's also happening. Some consolidation. That's what I see. That's what I think I see.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. And it's funny, I kind of, when thought about this subject, I was thinking from a standpoint of these little coins that we've been sitting on forever, literally do moon and go up, 8, 10x, that kind of thing, kind of like what happened with me with Doge way back when. But bring up Ethereum and it's kind of mooned on its own here the last couple months kind of thing. So that's good.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Anybody else want to jump in with their thoughts on these coins or your own, or if you've got one you just heard about, anything like that?
I'll jump in real briefly. As I'm looking at your list, I see XRP, which I'm super excited about that particular coin. A while back, maybe about a year ago, I was watching this YouTube channel guy that I watch a lot. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he was saying if you can get XRP for under $1, it's a total steal. And I heard him say that on a couple of different broadcasts. So, anyways, when it was about 80 cents, I went ahead and put a nice chunk of change in there. And then now it's all the way up to well, like a 280, and it actually 3x because it went past 320.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
long story short, XRP I think is a fantastic coin to invest in. Um, Hopefully in October, they're slated to get ETF approval. And if that happens, they're going to join Bitcoin and Ethereum, who have already been approved for ETFs. And they're saying that that could make XRP's price go up dramatically, in addition to the utility cases, which are going to be coming forth pretty soon for that particular coin.
yeah, it
Um,
actually I think XRP hit like 345 or maybe 350 that one day and then pulled back.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a good move at getting it for 80 cents on there.
and then one
Cool.
more I'll throw in there is XLM.
Hmm.
Um, I put some money in that one as well because they're saying that XRP and XLM are very similar. That XLM is like XRP's little brother, and when XRP starts doing well and going up, XLM seems to follow, and I see that that has been the case so far. So those two coins I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, now those are both of those are part of the ISO 20022 coins and all those projects and that kind of thing. Um, so there might be some correlation there. I think Steve mentioned HBAR and then ALGO is are on that list, and I had to have those in the description here. Um, yeah, these coins. Um, and they each are kind of serving a different function within that whole space. And I know it was funny we talked about Algorand, and Lino made a great point that Algorand was the one that had the most coins were actually out in the market already. There wasn't a bunch being held back, so that should lead to better price action. But it's actually been like one of the worst ones between at least XLM and XRP since then. So it's like, we can look at these and theorize all we want, but if the market goes a different way, the market, it's all about the market. So it's tough
Yeah.
sometimes. Michael,
Yeah, that kind
oh,
of
go
speaks
ahead,
to.
Steve.
I was just going to add, let Michael talk, but I was that kind of speaks to what I was just talking about, Brad. Like, so I do, I check in all of the Coin Telegraph and all the coin news sites, and I also watch CNBC, which is just mainstream, right? So CNBC's mainstream. On CNBC, you literally will hear about Bitcoin. Uh, a lot of Ethereum in the last 2 months, and you'll hear XRP. And I'm just talking about CNBC now. You would have heard about XRP a lot 3 months ago. Now it's a very rare story about XRP. XRP needs something to break. I like what Art said about the potential ETF move that in October, right? That'd be great for XRP, and maybe it would start getting some mainstream news. But you'll hear they did an interview with Cardano not that long ago, but you never hear about Algorand, you never hear about Stellar, you never hear about some of these other coins, although in the crypto world they're considered valuable coins. So to me, I am started moving into the because I think that the whole crypto scene is getting mainstreamed, I'm starting to lean into those coins that other investors who don't know crap about crypto are going to hear about as effectively doing something in the marketplace. So anyway, that was that.
Yeah, along that regard, started seeing, this is probably a few months ago, more and more discussion about Solana and, an
Yeah,
ETF there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the next one, type of thing. Now, I think we're probably at three or four quote unquote next ones to
right,
ETF.
right,
Um,
right.
but it seemed like Solana just kept, getting brought up in those discussions. So I'm like, okay, and I had some at the point I think I purchased a little more since then, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. But yeah, no, that's a
along
good
the
point
same.
because people come into play, they don't know all the thousands of coins on CoinMarketCap. What they hear on, CNBC, Fox Business, whatever, um,
Right.
type of thing. So yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or any little ones we need to keep an eye on? Ahmed, you got any good ideas? Or Susan unmuted? Go ahead. I know she's a good
Yeah, so
go
yeah,
ahead.
so the JP Morgans and the large financial institutions are adopting Ethereum because it's on an easier, and I do not know the language, so I hesitate to speak, but it's like maybe it's a slightly different blockchain and it's not a blockchain, but it runs more seamlessly. And so whatever they're doing, whatever platform blockchain type thing they're using, that's what everybody's very excited about. So Tom Lee um he's got Bitmine. He's the president of Bitmine,
Mhm.
and he said that he changed the reason Bitmine has taken off is because he changed Ethereum. He changed Bitmine from a mining company to a um oh, I'm gonna mess up the words here too, but to a holding company, I believe. And um so people I on CNBC, people are saying I'm selling my Bitcoin. So they're not as adventuresome as you guys, but they're saying they're selling their Bitcoin and into ETHA.
Mhm.
So when you talked about those big banks were working on something that was more seamless, was that what they were working on? Was that Ethereum, like you said at the
Yes,
beginning?
yes, they're using Ethereum.
Okay.
They're using Ethereum, and they it's yeah, they it's um and it sounds like so far that's just the focus right now. And they're oh, is it I wish I'd written it down. So some of the words are, oh, I'm just not remembering it. But it's like instead of the blockchain, there are two more words.
Like distributed ledger?
No, like they maybe start with S. Gosh, the thing is, it's on a podcast, so I don't write this down because I can go back anytime I need it. Well, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not going to go back now,
right.
but
No, that's was it
but that's
staking?
maybe.
Because I know I saw some comments that these the the companies that have the Ethereum ETFs wanted to get approval from whoever they get approval from to allow them, the ETF, organizer, to stake the Ethereum that they owned within their ETF.
It's very possibly that it's staking.
Okay. Which it
And
made a lot of sense because it's like, if you're holding, 500 million in Ethereum, hey, let's stake it and earn 4 or 6% or that kind of
yes,
thing.
that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
And then they can then eventually the banks won't have to pay to transfer money. So they're really excited about this as a more convenient way to move money internationally. And
Right, right.
it's the Ethereum. It's not Bitcoin.
That's interesting because Ethereum is more expensive for these transaction fees, but I think that's more for us small guys. If we want to send, if I was going to send Steve $100, it would cost me $20 in fees. But if, Chase is sending, $1 million to Bank of America and it costs them $30 in fees, not a big deal, type of
Right.
thing. Although that's one place that XRP was really playing, crypto folks have always referred to it as the banker's coin. And it's
Oh,
been,
interesting.
involved in banking activities and Ripple Labs has other things going on besides just the XRP coin. So that's getting interesting. And I thought Western Union was using it or something. There was discussion a few years ago to do just that. I go in um, to Western Union here in Fresno, and I want to send funds to, my brother who's on vacation in Mexico, and he lost his wallet
Yes.
or something.
Yes.
And, they use XRP as the back end as opposed to whatever
Yes.
they do kind of thing.
So I think Ripple, is that the where the guys like Nicaraguan or maybe in somewhere in India, and he saw a need um because he was just like, it was like everyone needed money and nobody could get it to them. So he started I think it's Ripple, but I'm not sure there either. I mean, some of this I am just really struggling to absorb it all. So it's and so the companies right now, I don't think they're public. So I'm just more like I'm just trying to absorb what they're doing and why rather than specific names.
Okay, okay.
Um but I know Ethereum is, that's why I asked you last month what the Ethereum ETFs would be, and then it is ETHA is the one. And
THA. Oh,
ETHA, Ethereum. And it's iShares.
okay. Yeah, that's the big one. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure staking was in there.
Um, Staking. Okay,
And
okay.
and JP, I mean Jamie Dimon was really against cryptocurrency, but
Yeah, he's been poo-pooing
Hmm.
it for
yes, he has.
years. Yeah.
But I think now has some staff on board that are saying, Jamie, just go to your office. Let us do our thing.
Good. Yeah. And I think that probably happened a couple years ago, and he's kind of coming around, but it's hilarious just
Hmm.
to hear him now. And it's like, do you remember what you said? Kind of thing.
Right, right.
So
This is all
yeah,
about money.
yeah.
Once they started realizing that people were going to pour billions of dollars into it, all of a sudden they like it. You could
Yeah,
you could put an ETF on dog poop, and if they thought it was going to go up in value,
yeah.
they would jump. I mean, I don't. That sounds very harsh on my part, but
No,
it's
yeah, no.
definitely
He and
true.
he would say, it's Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme.
Hmm. Yeah, or if they
So
Well,
can just make fees off of it,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
that
It
kind of
it
thing.
sounded it didn't sound so much like the fee thing, It really sounded like it was ease. This new blockchain thing was easier and faster, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because it seems like Ethereum, I mean, these newer ones should be faster than Ethereum. But I guess, Steve, I was going to share this picture for you, but I realized I already sent it to you. But for the rest of you, I will share this.
Yeah.
Where is that?
This is at the University of Kansas's newly remodeled stadium. And so I went there for the Fresno State game a couple weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and they're introducing, some people, and there's one guy that's like pulling up the flag, it's like one of the things that they're traditions at the football games. And so I hear this Brad Garlinghouse, and I'm like, I think that sounds familiar, and
Yeah.
we're like making our way to the seats, and we're getting acclimated because we're like in the seriously the nosebleed section.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then the announcer's like, oh yeah, and he founded Ripple Labs, and I'm like, oh, I know who that is. And so
Oh,
he's an alum of University of Kansas, and he had donated $15 million, so they
wow.
named a plaza after him.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd share
Yeah,
that
he
with you
sounds
guys.
very successful. I'm pretty sure that's
Was that the
the guy.
Nicaragua connection?
Yeah, the guy he was in, I don't know, they were all over. There were three involved. They were all over the world. And one guy needed a pair of shoes and they wouldn't take the currency. And
Ah,
another, there was somebody else. I don't know. There were three different like dramas. And so he thought there's got to be a better way. And so that's what he set up. Ripple.
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, no, it's interesting these
So
backstories
what
of how
coins,
these
yeah, what coins are on Ripple?
well, okay, so XRP is the chain, and then it looks like they're coming out with other coins on the chain, just like there's other coins on Ethereum, BNB, etc. But that brings up the one I wanted to share with you guys to see if you've heard about it at all. So I was talking with one of our members, and he told me about this exchange bank. It's like bank exchange or whatever nifty name they have. And let me see if I can get it to come up. But they're supposedly launching. Here we go. Yeah, launching September 12th. Um, and it's like the screen, it kind of goes off my screen. I don't see the upper part of it. But this BXE coin is, it looks like this is the native coin to this DeFi platform, just like Cake is on Pancake Swap and Uni is on Uniswap, that kind of thing. Have you guys heard anything about other coins on XRP or anything about this BXE coin?
I have not. Is BXE on the XRP Ripple platform, or
Yes.
is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes. Yes. And so I helped this person get set up because it's a DeFi thing, and the wallet that they use, it was interesting how it worked. I'll share it with you just because it worked a little differently than MetaMask and these other ones,
Hmm.
have talked about. Okay, now I'm getting a virus error kind of thing that it's not letting me go to. Um, I'm trying to open it on another. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, so this is the wallet. that, he was using. And instead of connecting, how normally you have the MetaMask in your browser as a plugin, and you go to the exchange and it says connect your wallet and all that kind of thing. The way the uh, bank exchange one works is, instead of doing that directly, it shows you a QR code when you set up a transaction. Like, I want to trade, you know, 10 XRP for however many BXZ I can get. And then you, on your phone, where you have this wallet app, you scan that and then it connects that way. And then you can, approve the transaction and that kind of thing. But it was using actually two different devices. So you can set up the transaction on a website, like this, with a big screen and keyboard and mouse and all that. And then you
Mm.
just connect your wallet to approve the transaction, type of thing. So it worked a little differently, but maybe that's an easier way to do it, or a way to use two devices together, type of thing. So just to give you a heads up, I haven't heard anything on this, and there wasn't a whole lot of volume. Oh, here. Okay, there's more volume. When I was working with him, there was only like $250 a day in volume. And I'm like, okay, $250, we're not, this is like the six of us just kind of exchanging some coins or something, not
Right.
thousands or even a million, folks, type of deal. So the price has gone up from like a penny. Then this is in terms of XRP. So it's, 3.5x from back in June. But I was trying to figure out what that September 12th thing was, because obviously the coin's been trading. So I don't know what's going to happen on September 12th. Anyway, might be something to keep an eye on, that kind of thing. Anybody have any thoughts on this one, or any other XRP related? Yeah. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. All right. Oh, go
So
ahead, Susan.
I think that what they were talking about with the ETHR is stable coin. Is that like stupid?
No, I mean, stable coins are kind of been the big rage the past few months.
So apparently this is what the banks are signing up for their stable coin, the Ethereum.
So because,
So
yeah.
instead of staking, I think it's stable coin. And there's
Oh,
also staking. I mean, they also use that word, but I don't know what staking means.
staking is think of it like a savings account. You're putting money, kind of locking up money in the bank,
Hmm.
except you're locking it up usually in a wallet or on a platform. And then in exchange for you locking it up there, that wallet or exchange gives you interest.
Okay.
Maybe once a week, maybe one,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And to do the staking, generally you're not committing to a time period. It's not like a 3-month CD or a 6-month CD. You usually, if you want to unstake to get your funds back to do whatever you want with them, there's usually between like a 3 to a 7 day period to unstake. So, because
Okay.
they're obviously doing something with your funds, so you kind of need to give them a little time, like, hey, I want my funds back, and they're like, okay, it'll be 5 days since you told us, you know, kind of thing.
Yes.
But you're not
Okay.
committed to 6 months, 12 months, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they work.
That's so annoying to all that. Okay.
Yeah. But I think it looks like these different banks want to have their own stable coin. Um, which is going to get a little crazy having, if you want to use something with Bank of America, then you got to do their stable coin. But what about if I have the funds in Chase and they want me to use their stable? So to me, it makes more sense just to have one, from a
Yes.
user standpoint. maybe two or three, but to have one, it's like not having it's like having a Macy's card. Okay, I have a Macy's credit card, great. But what if I want to go to Old Navy or whoever? Oh, now I have to get an
Yeah,
Old
yeah,
Navy card? What the heck? That's why we have a
yeah.
Visa card because we can use it everywhere.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
So we'll see how that plays itself out. But just like we just talked about, if there's a way to make some money or make some money on a transaction, the banks are going to try to get involved there, kind of
yes,
thing.
yeah.
So, Ahmed, any thoughts from you? Haven't you got some words of wisdom for us?
Not really. I'm still trying to file my taxes from the Celsius um uh
Debacle?
debacle where
Oh,
6% and it ended up losing most of it. So yeah, we got most of us got like about 60% back. So I'm trying to do all the calculations and all that for taxes, but yeah,
okay.
I'll be
Y-
careful with like staking stuff. Based on my experience there, if it sounds too good to be true, then be careful because a lot of staking is it is kind of a risk. But
Yeah, so rewind for I don't want to bring up this your personal pain, but hopefully we can learn from it. Just give us, the 45-second rundown of what Celsius did and that and how you used it and how things went bad.
yeah, so Celsius, like a few years ago, they allowed you to stake different cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, I think Ethereum, and a few other major ones, and um, they uh, they promised like 5% return in back in crypto. So you're and so you just for kind of keeping it in that digital wallet. And so obviously they were using that, investing it and all that. And um, with something like crypto where especially Bitcoin has been going up and down. So they must have, I'm not sure exactly the details of why they failed, but they were not able to meet the obligations. And yeah, there's probably a lot more details, but eventually they had to file for bankruptcy. And if you had your crypto staked in their platform, then you couldn't access your crypto anymore, and it became a part of this bankruptcy filing. And over the next uh, years, it a couple years almost, the court case uh, took to go to completion, and there's been several distributions, and it's summed up to about like 60% of the original value that was deposited. So yeah, which is still a loss, right? Because crypto's grown since then. So
Right, right. Yeah, and we'd had a few folks, a few members say they had good experiences with Celsius, back in the day, and it was probably the biggest one to do it, maybe the first one, kind of thing. So, yeah, yeah, sorry that all that happened, but
yeah, not your keys, not your crypto.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, so putting it in that online wallet, and I mean, at least with like banks where we get like 3-4% interest, you have the FDIC insurance, but with crypto we don't really have that. I like that some platforms were like Algorand, they used to have the like you just keep it in the wallet and you automatically um it gets some sort of like staking reward. So you're not storing in someone else's wallet, you're still keeping it in your own wallet. It's still going to be your crypto regardless. So I guess staking
yeah,
is different from what I did, right? Because staking is where you still have it in your own wallet, whereas what I did was kind of like deposit it in a um in a different bank, so to speak.
Yeah, or a centralized exchange is kind of what they ended up, kind of acting like to as far as that goes. And we've seen some, centralized exchanges starting to offer staking on various coins. Um, and the first one that I was exposed to was Tezos right here. It's been around forever. It kind of went offline for a while because the founders were in a little feud, but it came back. But it was designed to be a coin that does staking. And so all you had to do was hold it in the Tezos wallet and it would stake. And just like you said, it's still under your control. When you wanted to unstake, it had like I think they called it a cooling off period or a something in one of these other descriptions like we were just talking about. As far as when you get the funds back after you request the staking to end. But it almost seemed like a better idea to me to if you wanted to stake some of your and if you wanted to do staking and earn funds that way, it might make more sense to put those funds into a specific coin that had native staking that was part of its tokenomics. And so you don't have to rely on Celsius or Binance.us or Coinbase or whoever to do it for you. You could just do it by yourself and be in full control of your coins. So I just Googled crypto coins with native staking, and this is what I got. Talking about the different ones.
Mm.
Um, liquid staking token native. Yeah, so the native staking is where you just stake tokens on the chain and you get those rewards in that token as opposed to get some other liquid staking token. Yeah. Um, yeah, so yeah, sorry to hear that, but yeah, it's one of those things with crypto, I guess. Are there any ones you're looking at? I know you were working on a project. Refresh my memory what you were working on last time, a couple months ago
Um,
when you were on with us.
I just wanted to kind of look at my portfolio again. A lot of the like the privacy tokens, those kind of those have been going down pretty bad, and I should have probably taken out a while back. Yeah, portfolio is at least net positive thanks to Bitcoin, but all the other stuff uh, been going down.
Yeah, that's a good point. When do we exit a coin when it's, had a 20% pullback or that kind of thing? Have you and I'm kind of asking, for all of us and for me, because I know that turbo one I mentioned, it's down like 60% since when I bought it. And I'm like, yeah, it's $100. I just let it ride. But, do I let it ride till it's $4? What is there a good strategy there? What we really have to do is look at each coin and what's going on with it, with itself. Um, but it sounds like you were a little more active, moving in and out of coins than I'm kind of holding longer and just
No,
sitting
I,
there.
I was not active at all. I was just I
Oh,
just believed in the whole privacy concept of, I put in some into Pirate Chain, Wow Nero, Conceal, um, all summing up to close to 10 grand actually. I did not realize, yeah, because it went up to, I think my estimation is incorrect because it went up after I put it in, and I think I put in about like 6K altogether, like over the 10 years, I guess. And it went up to 10K, and then I never pulled out, and now it's like 1,000.
ugh. Yeah, and it seemed like the privacy coins were a big thing 5 years ago, something like that. And then somebody brought up the point they're like, if government gets involved and starts regulating and this and that and whatever, they're not going to want privacy coins because
Yeah,
they
and
can't
so I
see
was
what's going on. And so do you think that's why they're kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
out of
because
favor?
I was trying to go and sell it on the privacy platform Trade Ogre, and that side is down. So I'm not sure exactly what the reason was. Some people on Reddit were saying it was an attack, but there's some new platforms to be able to sell your privacy coins.
Well, I think I mean, Monero and some of these other ones are still on like Coinbase and regular platforms, or have they gotten kicked off because maybe these exchanges have gotten squeezed from the government? I-
Yeah, some people were saying that the owner of that Trigger platform, that he got doxxed or something. And
Hmm. Yeah, I had used that one in the past, and I know never required KYC, which I thought was odd. Being that I thought they were based like in Los Angeles or something.
yeah, these privacy things are not going to require KYC.
Well, I mean, but that exchange, the Trade Ogre.
Yep, yeah, they don't need KYC.
Okay,
It's
okay.
pretty. I guess it is pretty black market. A lot of these, privacy tokens. Um,
Oh, it doesn't support the fiat. Maybe that's why. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I thought they were getting. They just seem to be pretty big. Anyway. Okay.
Hey,
Um.
Brett,
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of address some of the things that you were talking about. When it comes to crypto, it's just like when it comes to stocks. For me, there's essentially two different levels. You have investable assets, and you have I'm going to take a chance assets, right? So in stocks, I invest in Nvidia, AMD, Robinhood. I mean, things that I know are going to do well. Amazon, and then there's other stuff. I bought a stock, I don't know, a month ago, and it was 250, and now it's like 570 or something, right? But I fully expected that the $600 or $800 that I put into it would would likely go belly up. It's open door is what it is. Open
Mm,
PEN, right?
okay.
So for me, that's something that I just thought, okay, I'm going to throw, $400 or $500 or $600 at it, and now it's worth 1,500 or whatever. It's just a small amount. Crypto is very much the same way. If there are certain coins that if you lose 20%, well, it's likely you're going to lose another 20% or another 40% because there's not enough people who are truly interested in none of the right people. None of the right people. One of the reasons Bitcoin has been doing so well is because you have Larry Fink, the guy, the CEO of BlackRock and the largest ETF, IBIT. He loves Bitcoin. He absolutely loves it. So that makes it investable by people who have real money, what they call the proverbial smart money people, right? And that's why it's going to continue to go into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands, possibly $1 million or more in our lifetime. So when you're doing small cryptos, ones that you hear a story on YouTube and people go, oh, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. It could be us. Who are we? We're nobody. We're no Larry Finks. Larry Fink comes on YouTube and says, hey, this is a good privacy coin. That thing's going to go somewhere. I'm just saying is that there's a story and a hope, and that's the I'm going to throw some spaghetti on the wall, see if it sticks. And then you have something like Bitcoin, which has a limited amount, and you can't make 100 trillion of these damn things, and there's no hype on it per se, and it's completely investable by big money, by hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars. That's the difference between the two. So when we look at these different things, I've been coming to your thing for a long time, and a lot of people are moving on hopium, right? And
Yeah.
the hopium usually turns into bustium, quite frankly. And anyhow, that's my nickel's worth, and that's why I have Solano now, and I have Bitcoin, and that's it. I sold all my other little coins a few years ago, took what little money was there, and put it into Bitcoin, and And so anyhow, that's my nickel's worth.
And it's hard to argue with that because looking back, just buying Bitcoin, hasn't burned too many people. Now, yeah, if you got into it a month before your child's tuition for college was due and it went down the next week, and you didn't have the money to take out and pay the tuition, you might have been stuck. But other than that, it's been a pretty good play.
You look one other thing. You look at something like one of the first coins I did. I went into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin in the very beginning in July 2017. And so, I mean, Litecoin ended up going to like I don't know $300 or $400. I mean, Bitcoin has 20 times since then, 25 times since then, and Litecoin is still 25% of what its all-time high is. Now, does anybody remember that the dude who started Litecoin came on Twitter? That's what it was called back then. And he goes, I'm out and I'm selling all my stuff. So the guy who started the whole thing, I can't remember his name. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
but he did that because he supposedly didn't want to be swayed because he was running the Litecoin Foundation or whatever it was that was working on it. So, but yeah, it kind of looked a little shanky, janky
Yeah.
or whatever, that it's like,
Here's
well,
my
don't you
point
believe in it?
is that he got out when it was in the 300s or something. And it's never recovered after 8 years, 7 years, whatever time frame that was. That was like 2018 or something. So
Yeah.
7 years ago. So I don't know. If you're in Bitcoin and it goes down 20%, what do? You buy more, right? Yeah, that's what I did when it went to 70 something or 67,000, its first big high. And then it goes down to four. I bought more at 49. I bought more at 29. I bought more at 23,000, and I bought more at 21,000. And how did that work out for me? Pretty well.
Yeah.
Pretty well. So,
Right.
but if I'd bought more on Litecoin at 200, thinking, oh, it's down half, great. Okay, it's 150. Well, I'm still three-quarters down.
Right.
So I'm just
Yeah.
saying we all hope all this is going to go, but we know who the big daddy is, and Bitcoin's always going to be the big daddy.
Michael, and I've got a jam before too long, but Mike, let me ask you a question. What do you see as the next driver of Bitcoin kind of regaining momentum? And I'm not talking, and I know it just said it's all-time high, so I'm not dissing Bitcoin at all, but I'm waiting, just like last year. Since I think if you would have invested in Bitcoin this time last year, you would have been up something like 60% or maybe more. I can't remember what the number is, but but that took Trump's election, some other stuff. The ETFs really starting to kick into play, although they were like a year and a half ago. What do you see, Mike, as the next big driver for Bitcoin, or what needs to really captivate people's attention?
Well, yeah, if you'd invested a year ago, according to my Coinbase account, my account is up 103% in a year now.
Okay.
So, I mean, all-time high, my account's up 538%. So, what's going to be the next driver? That's a good question. I think Bitcoin still works a lot on seasonality. And so we are coming up to usually the fall, winter time, you get some nice runs. And I think it has a lot to do with interest rates, believe it or not. In my heart, I wish Bitcoin was completely and utterly its own animal, and it would run on its own own juices, as it were, right? But it's already got an ETF. You're getting adoption in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, every month there's there's another $5 or $10 that's put into it, which is really a pittance. I mean, $10 billion is obviously a lot of money to us, but $10 billion in a regular stock market day was just traded in the time I've been yapping in the last 30 seconds.
Right.
Okay. So it's a lot of money, but it's not that much. So I think it's going to be seasonality and then this dropping of interest rates. It's too tied to the market, which bothers me.
Right.
I wish it was separate. Um, what is the catalyst? If Trump really does this thing and they make it part of, I don't know if legally he can do it. He has to go through Congress to get Congress to actually invest money into Bitcoin as part of a strategic reserve, or however they want to word that. That would go crazy. After the market yesterday, Robinhood was included in the S&P 500.
Yeah, saw that.
So after the market, it was up 6 or 7%. I own some Robinhood, so that's good for me. But the point is that everybody and their mothers that has a 500 that has a S&P 500 fund is going to have to start buying this next week and on from there. So the principle is sort of the same with Bitcoin. If the U.S. government is doing that, then a lot of other governments are going to follow that, and that would be a gigantic catalyst. It's not that they aren't accumulating some stuff now, but when you do it in the mainstream and everybody sees it, and you're buying hundreds of billions of dollars at a time instead of 5 billion this week, you're going to get a lot more movement. I still fully expect by 2030 to be in the high hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million. So, and one last thing is that I don't know about you guys, but Bitcoin seems to be sometimes makes moves that I don't understand, but somebody out there does. Does anybody believe that there's things going on behind the scenes with Bitcoin in terms of whales and manipulation at all? I'm curious. I've been meaning to ask that question for a long time. What other people think about that?
Yeah, Tim has brought that up at the pizza meetings where he's like, all these ETFs are buying directly from the miners, and those transactions aren't going through the exchanges, so they don't have an effect on the price, which to me, it's like, since the ETFs launched, the price just should be going up gradually, every week, unless there's some, pending war in the Middle East or some, something going on. It should just be going up and up and up.
Yeah, that is another issue. And Steve, that kind of goes to your question, is that the funds are not buying on the open market, which means they're not buying from the public, as it were. And if you're buying from the source, then you're probably going to be buying at a lower price, because all miners are really interested in is to pay their bills and to make X dollar profit. All of us here, what we're interested in is holding Bitcoin and watching it go and go and go. And miners don't really do that. All right.
Right.
They mine 1,000 coins, and then they go and they offload them. And so they'll do it at a discount. Whereas you and I want to profit on that, and that will push the price up.
I think Tim's argument is half right, and I don't know if the economics change any just because we're in a cryptocurrency conversation. But so if I had 10 items and I had a garage sale and there are 10 valuable items there, they're all the same. And everybody was milling around, and you saw, Brad, you saw Michael buy 2 of those items. You go, oh, okay. Now there's only 8 of them left. Honey, we better go get one. But if you didn't see that somebody in the backyard pulled me aside and said, I'll buy 3 more of those items, does that change your mentality? So my point is, I agree partially with Tim, and I understand that there's whales that are buying Bitcoin cheaper than I can buy it. That part's easy to believe. But if you have a limited quantity, which is one of the true values of Bitcoin, right? Scarcity, limited quantity. It doesn't matter who buys it. When it's off the table, the prices should be going up. So I don't completely agree with Tim's theory, and I've heard it twice at the me and Ed's meeting, and I don't know enough but the basic economics is you don't have to know who's buying the other Bitcoin or what price they're getting. But if they're taking something scarce with a limited quantity off the table it should drive up the prices.
Well, that holds true if indeed everything is equal. So if we own a Bitcoin and we can sell it for $110,000, but you can buy it for 90,000 somewhere else, the value of your coin at 110 isn't necessarily going to go up. I understand the principle of what you're saying is that you have 21 million, but basically there's 18 million out or 17.5 million, whatever that number is. So that doesn't fundamentally change what's in the open market. That's what matters. It's what's in the open market, right? And is it
You're
being
just telling me they're buying it from the miners, though. So
well, if you're buying it from the miners, there's no competition for that price to go up, right? But if you and I are buying it from Brad under the table somewhere or off the market somewhere, well, Brad says I want 95,000 for it. Okay, I'll pay you 95 for it. Well, your 110 doesn't get affected because there's not two people. You know, that's what makes a market and that's what makes things go up. You and I both want that. So I say I'll pay 97, and you say no, I'll pay 99. And that's how the price ends up going up.
Right.
But if there's only one person there or one entity coming to Brad and saying, I'm going to buy that, Brad's just got that one guy. And so there's no competition between who can get it. He's either going to take my money or he's not, and we walk away. But he needs the money so that he can mine another 100 of these or another 1,000. But I understand your principle, and it does make sense.
This is like opposite of what I've heard. I heard the whales are selling, and they would have bought in 2014 and along the way. So I've never heard of any whales buying. They're just selling.
Well, obviously they had to buy it at some point in time, and anybody who bought in 2014, in my humble opinion, if you bought in 2014 and you're thinking about selling now, that's an extraordinarily rare bird.
Right.
So, I mean, you're talking like,
that's why there's so many donations.
well, I'm saying, you know, if you bought in 2014, you paid like $1 or $5 or something.
Right.
Okay, so you've like 1,000,000% your money, literally 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I think Bitcoin is like 7,000,000% from when it started to where it is now, right? And so when I hear you say that, Susan, I understand. I've heard those things too, but it makes me think about the 300 shares of Amazon that I owned at $9. Okay, and then Amazon eventually went to $3,500. I cannot fathom in my own mind that I would have held something from $9 to $3,400, and that at 320 or 1,340 that I wouldn't have sold. Does that make sense? It's just I doubt there's very many people out there who willingly bought something 10 years ago and have held on to it, waiting for it to get to 110 today, and wouldn't have. I mean, am I making sense on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I mean, the amount of profit from $5 to $10,000. I mean, most people would have dumped way before then.
Right.
You know, only someone like Warren Buffett. And do you know anybody else on the planet like a Warren Buffett? No. You know, that he bought a railroad for 55 cents in 1922, and now he's selling it today for $75. Okay, I get that, but it's an extraordinarily rare bird. You know, it's like an honest politician. There just ain't many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
if anything that I've heard, it seems like there's been and I still think it's very small, although you hear about it, a rotation from Bitcoin into Ethereum, right? And so I see, you know, because I own both of those. So probably like you guys, multiple times a day, I'll just pull up my Coinbase account. I'm busy, I'm doing other stuff. Hey, let me check what crypto's doing. I'll pull up Coinbase account. And you would think that when Ethereum, especially your blue chips, are kind of all moving up or they're all moving down on the same day based on market fluctuations. But I'm still, and this is not so much true in the last 2 weeks, but in the last 3 months, you'll see Bitcoin going down, XRP going down, Algorand going down, Ethereum going up. So there's a momentum play going on there. And some people are not as married to Bitcoin as we are. So so they're going to play the market, right? So I see this rotation. I think it's likely temporary. And as soon as Bitcoin begins to catch its next wave, which is what I asked Michael about, what's going to create that next wave in Bitcoin? I think last year it was by and large Trump's election, right? Now this year, is it adoption by the United States of America as a strategic reserve? Whatever that next trigger is, then you're going to see the momentum shift the other way, and people are just going to load into Bitcoin, exponentially again, and that's what's going to drive up the price, I think.
Well,
So
that's the nature of investing. If you look at the stock market, like you said, you watch CNBC, and if you,
yeah,
I've watched CNBC since the 80s, uh, and the thing is that there's always this thing called rotation, right? And
right,
that's what you were talking about. So you're always going to have traders who are trading in and out of particular stocks, or in this case, crypto, that they go, okay, I see that the chance of putting in these dollars into this particular asset are going to end up making me, whatever my percentage goal is, my target. So, but in the end, it's always going to come back to the big boy, right? Everybody rotates. People rotated out of Apple this year because they thought, oh,
yeah,
they didn't have their AI game going, blah, blah, blah. And it got down into like the 170s. And now it's back up to 238 or something. So,
right,
people had basically thrown Apple to the wayside, which has made people billionaires. And so, but what happened? Money came back in. Apple
yeah,
went up 50% in the last 6 months, or whatever the dollar
right,
amount is. So
agreed,
you're right on that. But I do think uh, adoption by sovereign countries, Bitcoin going into sovereign wealth funds that's known and understood, that would be a big catalyst as well,
right,
upward. So
yeah,
anyhow,
agreed. No, I agree with that. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I want to see that before the end of the year.
I think we'll see new highs before the end of the year.
Yeah,
We could broach 150 between now and the end of the year, and I mean that's basically 40% run from where we're at now.
right.
40%. You know, they talk about S&P funds, uh, S&P 500 funds, and if you get 8 or 10% in a year, you're doing fantastic. So 40% basically from September. So you're not even 4 months and you get 40%
Yeah,
annualized. That's a lot of money.
big time.
So anyhow, that's what I got for you guys.
That's
I
good.
still didn't hear what we should buy, this afternoon to make a bunch of money.
I'm more XRP.
Except there we go. Okay. So I think that's all what we all want, but maybe we'll have to do a little more research to get that. Cool. All right.
Has anybody invested in any of those Trump funds or anything like that? Trump coins? I've heard about stuff, but I haven't looked at that at all. I was wondering if anybody explored that.
Just for a couple days when the Trump coin came out, get in and get out. I
Yeah,
think I may have made like 10% or something, but yeah.
yeah. Lino and I were up late one night getting in on the Trump coin and the Melania coin, and we made a little bit of money, but it just bounced around so fast. It's just crazy. And it was fun and exhilarating. And at the end of the day, I thought, it's not worth it. But I actually, since you brought it up, I my opinion is and I don't want to drop a F-bomb, but in Trump's personal and his boys' personal cryptocurrency thing, I think it is a drag on the market. I think it's a turnoff to a lot of people, right? So they see it, that they see what's going on in that world. I wish the focus was much more foundational, which there are things coming, there's things that have happened and there's things coming up that are going to take the United States government that direction. But I think Trump's personal thing, when people find out how much money he's making in crypto, and it's kind of, and it's the opposite of all the stuff we've talked about today. It's it's way, it's just pulling stuff out of your ass and selling it because you're the president's kids. Now, that's the way I see it. So I think a lot of people get turned off of that.
Well, quite frankly, that's the story of like 20,000 other coins. I mean,
Right.
to be honest, and I mean to be fair across the whole thing. But I agree that I have a little bit of a conflict of interest problem with that. But whether it's driving people away or not, I really haven't considered that seriously. But thanks for the input, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad.
All right. Thanks for showing up today, guys. Any other final thoughts, questions, comments?
I want to make a final comment about when to considering selling some of the crypto. I know what Michael said. I think it's true. Seasonality. Some of the guys that I follow, they're saying like October is usually called Uptober, and I've only been in this for about 2 years. But in November, it seems like I've made a lot of money in crypto the past couple of years. So, but then after these current cryptocurrencies skyrocket, let's say October, November, December, then they also plummet dramatically. So, for example, I've been fortunate to make more than about $10,000. But I had one coin I put $1,000 on called Floki, and it's now at about $500. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting until after October, November, December, see what that does. Then I'll probably sell sell if I need the money.
Yeah, here's what I wish I would have done when my theta was up like that, is basically sell enough, when it's up to get your original capital back. And then everything that's left, you're playing with the house's money. So at least no matter what, you're not going to lose kind of thing. So maybe you sell out a little bit, with it 5-10% kind of thing, and or sell enough so you got double your money back, let the rest ride if you want to or whatever. Again, not financial advice, but something I wish I would have done on with Theta.
Right. That's a pretty good strategy. I am hopeful. Michael said something about 30 minutes ago. It looks like we're going to have an interest rate cut in September, probably not a real huge one, but if we have a couple interest rate cuts between here and the end of the year, I think it's going to be helpful to, all of these assets.
And the investing market in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, after the jobs report on Friday, it might end up being back to a 0.5%.
Wouldn't that be great, Mike?
It would be great. And then they're talking about there would be two more. One would be in October and the other one would be in December. I don't know why they skipped November, but so if if that does happen and we get 50 quarter and a quarter, that's a full 100 basis points. So that would be very helpful to the market and to crypto overall. So, but we don't want the economy to slow down too much at all.
Right.
Still need that bustling economy.
Exactly.
Guys, I have to go get some yard work done. Thanks.
All right. I think we'll call it here. Thanks for joining us. See you in a few weeks at the me and Ed's, and we will go from there.
Thank you, Brad.
All right.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
everybody.
guys.
Weekend,
Appreciate your
everybody.
time.
Thanks, Brett.